Hello and welcome to Transformation Now. Hi, I'm Rita, rocker, speaker, author, trainer with SoaringHigher.rocks, and I'm privileged to be back with you again today. Been talking a lot about just pursuing our dreams and our goals. Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit more about pursuing, but in a different direction, and also a little bit more with attitude and our careers. So it will be very interesting. And I'm going to start out with something on attitudes for success. And this is different than what I've been talking about before. And this is a little excerpt from something called Never Give Up. And that's by, it says the best way out is through. And that is so true. And so I've talked a lot in programs over the years about Abraham Lincoln because he had such a rough life for, well, his whole life. But then for the 38 years that he put in before he became president of the United States. And his story always amazes me, how someone who had been through so much rejection, so many things that happened, and yet he never gave up. So I always want to encourage my listeners, never give up either, no matter how tough life is, which I know personally, but just in the things that you want to do, what you want to pursue. And so think about that. And so I'm going to read you this little blurb about Abraham Lincoln and all the things that he dealt with before he became president, because he never gave up. It says, many people do not know that Abe Lincoln endured hardships and heartaches throughout the course of his entire life, at times struggling with severe depression. And I know that's something that's really happening a lot around the world, but I think the United States has the most anxiety and depression medications going out. So it is something that we struggle with, but we can overcome all of those things if we choose to. So consider the following. It says he spent his childhood working on the family farm with long days of back-breaking toil. Unfortunate circumstances forced his family to abandon their home in Kentucky because they lost their land. Can you imagine how that would be? Just everything you own, you lost it. And then they moved across the river to Indiana in search of better opportunities. Well then, his mother died when he was just 10 years old. My mom's mom died when she was 5, and so I can understand this. And so his father had to raise 8 children alone. And I remember how my mother used to talk about losing her mom at 5 and what a really hard life she had. So he went to work for a none too scrupulous businessman who ran the business into the ground, leaving Abe unemployed. He ran for the Illinois state legislature and lost, finishing 8th in a field of 13. He signed a note to buy a general store with a friend, but within a year, they were out of business, overwhelmed by a better organized competitor down the road in the same town. He fell in love with Anne Rutledge, became engaged to marry her, only to have her unexpectedly die. He was heartbroken and then severely depressed. He fell in love again and married Mary Todd. Together they had 4 sons, but 3 of them died before reaching adulthood. Can you imagine that? Just one thing after another, one loss after another. He was finally successful in getting elected to the state legislature and made 2 attempts to become speaker. He was defeated both times. Now, a lot of people probably, after being defeated once or everything that they had already gone through like he did, would say, you know what, just forget it. I can't do these things. It's not for me. I must not be good enough, or whatever the case may be. And that's not true. You just keep going. And so he wanted to run for Congress, but failed to achieve the party's nomination. Oh boy. And so he ultimately won a seat in Congress after all this time. But when he sought to run for the U.S. Senate, he couldn't muster enough votes and then had to withdraw from the election. He was selected as a vice presidential candidate, but due to late entry field, he couldn't win enough votes to get that position. He ran for the Senate again, but did not win the seat because his party failed to gain control of the legislature. All those years all that tragedy, all that feeling of rejection and disappointment, did he stop? No, he did not. But despite all the struggles and the setbacks, at no point did Lincoln ever give up. Personally or professionally, because he had it on both ends, that was pretty tragic and pretty tough. Personally, professionally, though, he never gave up on either one of those. He endured. That's a tough word sometimes. You endure something. It's not easy, but you got through it. You stuck through it. Great pain and sadness. A whole lot of rejection, that's for sure. But he didn't let it stop him. He just kept going because, why? That was his calling. His calling was to keep going. He knew what his calling was, and he was not going to give up no matter what happened, how many rejections, how many failures, how much heartache, because that was his calling. Finally, he ran for the highest office in the land and became the 16th president of the United States at a time when the country was facing its worst crisis ever, the Civil War. If you've ever seen documentaries and things on the Civil War, it was so brutal, it was so awful. And yet he fought through that. He won the war, ended slavery, and unified the nation. And it was really split. We know how that goes right now, those of us who are living here right now. If ever there was a man who exemplified perseverance, yep, that's what we need, and the enduring of personal discomfort, kept going no matter what, it was Abraham Lincoln. If he could have such pain in his life and still achieve all that he did, how can I let discomfort stop us from achieving our own goals? And that is so important. So we have to always remember, my life's just been one battle after another, and I know so many people that are, but I see way too many testimonies, way too many stories, and I've shared those in a lot of my past programs about people with no arms or legs, or, Nick Vujicic, no arms or legs. And he swims, and he plays some kind of soccer, and I don't know how. He does all kinds of things. He's married to a beautiful woman and has 4 children. And if you ever get a chance to watch a program by Nick Vujicic, please do. Because, talk about a testimony of not letting anything that happened to you keep you down. It's amazing. Andrea Bocelli, blind. That man rides horses, trying to remember some of the other activities. He's very active in things that normally you'd think you couldn't do. I've seen, a blind skier, a gentleman who lost his eyesight. He was a world championship motorcycle racer, and bad accident. He won, I think, 7 world championships, and then the accident took his eyesight. Then later on, he's the one who helped create the internet that blind people could use. And he won, I believe it was a water skiing competition, blind. Okay, so again, we can achieve goals. We have to set our minds to them. It's not easy. A lot of times it can be painful. It can last for years, but don't give up your goals. Do not. If something keeps coming to your heart and it keeps impressing on you, and no matter how much you try to put it back on the shelf, or circumstances in life come about and you have to put it back on the shelf for a while, but it keeps coming back, just know that that's what your calling is. That's what your purpose is. I'm waiting for my book to return from the publisher, and it's called Miracle in Your Mirror, Pursuing Your Passion at Any Age. And that is so true, because when I spoke to some high school kids a few months ago, I thought, you know what, this book would actually apply to them, even though it was originally intended for more mature people. Because a lot of people when they're young think, oh, I'm too young, I can't do this. Yeah, you can do it. You start focusing on it now. Pursuing your passion at any age. People that are jumping out of airplanes, parachuting, learning how at age 80 and getting a college degree at 72 or 80, or doing all these things, you think, good grief, they can't do that. I've seen runners in sports that were, I know one lady was 96 years old, doing that. Why? Because she was determined to. That was one of her goals. So it doesn't matter. Some of the stories you see of people that are really old, and by that, I say that very respectfully, but they don't let it keep them from pursuing their dream. When I talked to a lady once when I was speaking to a group of women in South Dakota, And she said, well, I'm 76 and there's nothing I can do anymore. I don't have anything to offer. I said, you have everything to offer. Look at all the life experiences you have. Look at how many things you could train the younger people on in life and different gifts and talents that you have. I said, please don't ever think you're too old, because I'm up there too. But please don't ever think you're too old. Your experiences, all the things that you have had over your life and done, those are very valuable to a lot of people. So never give up. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. Pursue those passions no matter what age you're in, because that's really, really important. So I'm going to work on some attitudes of successful individuals. Okay, these are all, the attitude is everything. Attitude is our altitude in a sense, because if someone has a very negative attitude and they always feel down and they always feel broken, and I understand that, been a lot of my life, then they just feel like, no, I don't like anybody, or nobody likes me, or I'm too stupid and that's what I was told all my life, or whatever the case may be. If we maintain a negative attitude from things that have happened to us, which is easy to do, then we can't go anywhere, because we go exactly where we're focusing on. If all we're thinking about is negative, hurtful things that have happened to us, instead of shutting the door to that and moving forward, then we won't get anywhere. I've done that a lot in my life and know a lot of people who have, and you can't, if I've heard people that are in a mature age, friends of mine, even say, oh my God, my back hurts so bad, man, my legs, and gosh, I'll probably be in a wheelchair or have walker in a year from now. And I thought, you keep planning on that? You keep planning on being in a walker? Guess what? You probably will be, because your body is focusing on breaking down to that point where you need a walker. So please don't, let those things from the past hinder you from the future. We're all God's kids. We're made in His image. And He has a lot of work for us to do, and very important work for us to do. And so always think about that, and don't focus on the things that have kept you down in the past, because you'll stay there. That's just the way it works. So this is about, you might think that just because the successful people, okay, maybe have what we think is more important to succeed. It could be like brains. Well, we all have brains. God's given us all brains. So sometimes we think, oh, they're so much smarter. Look at all the brains they have. No, they're using their brains. We all have, for me personally, I just say what's in the scripture, that I have the mind of Christ. Because when I feel so far down and just like I'm worthless and I still fight with that, then it's like, no, I'm God's daughter. I can't be made in a bad image. He doesn't make bad images. He makes people after His own image. So think about that every time maybe you get down on yourself. Ask Him to be into your heart, into your life, if you haven't done that, because He will show you a different part of you that maybe you've never seen before. Sometimes I have to say, Father, would you help me see myself through your eyes, because what I'm seeing right now, I don't like. I'm not feeling good about myself, whatever the case may be. And then He helps me see that I'm made in His image. Very valuable, just like you are. You're made in His image. You're very valuable. And so always think about that when you feel like, oh, they're smarter, they're richer, they're more attractive. No, we're made in His image. That's the number one priority that will pull us out of anything and strengthen us and get us on the right road, the right path, if maybe we feel like we're defeated and so we've just given up. I know that feeling very well, but that's not it. So we think about that, no matter where we live. I mean, the success stories, again, that I've seen, that people that, grew up in poverty, grew up in halfway homes and stuff like that, win scholarship to Harvard, or some of the other success stories. I love true life movies. These are the ones I like to go watch, at the theater, the ones that are true. There's one called Sight now that I can't wait to see, because here this Chinese gentleman got stuck in the communist war and all the cruelty and the thing that happened, and yet he became, in real life, a well-known doctor who actually was able to restore some sight to a little girl whose aunt, I believe it was, had put sulfuric acid in her eyes so she would be blind, because beggars that are blind make more money out on the street. I want to see that movie. Why? Because everything was against this man from when he was a teenager because of where he lived and what happened, and yet he didn't give up. He kept studying when he was able to finally get out of that, and ended up helping to restore some sight to that young lady. So you don't know what God's got in store for you. Just keep going forward. Think about that again with Tony Robbins, and I've mentioned him before, what a horrible life he had growing up, and his mother's chasing him out of the house on a Christmas Eve with a knife, and he's sleeping on a hill, and it's raining, and he's freezing, and he's 16. That's pretty tough. And then he would have to try to work and take 3 buses, I believe it was, to go to work where he was working, and then take them back, and he missed the bus one night, or they weren't running that night, and he had to go walk 16 miles. I think he said he got home at 3 a.m., had to get up at 6 a.m. and go to school, and he kept saying, I'm making it, I'm successful. And he, all the 16 miles, instead of being angry, he thought, no, I'm going to succeed, I'm going forward. And now that man is feeding millions of people, and he's doing unbelievable things, because he didn't let all the horrors of his growing up years and some of the things he had to do to say, well, that's all you're worth. That's, you can't do any more than that. Oh, yes. It's up here and it's in here. And so there's a Dr. Martin Seligman, who's an authority on optimism, which is crucial, discovered that attitude was a better predictor of success than IQ, our intelligence quotient. Now, there's also something that people have talked about the last few years called EQ, which is our emotional quotient, or emotional intelligence, as they call it. And so many times the emotional intelligence, how we deal with people, how we deal with our own emotions, how we deal with other people's emotions, how we act towards them when they act certain ways towards us, can get you a lot farther a lot of times than just strictly the intelligence quotient, which obviously, how intelligent are we? I've seen successful people of different levels of intelligence, people that are very successful do very well. Why? Because they're focused on what they're doing, they're focused on other people, and they're focused on making a difference. So he said that education, most factors, have to do with the IQ. However, he found that positive people stay healthier, have better relationships, and go further in their careers. And he even found that positive people make more money. And that is so true. That is so true. They're not trying to be coercive. They're not trying to look better and sound better and think, everyone want to think they're so much better. Why? Because maybe they're putting everyone else down. I've talked to a lot of people who, even like on the dating circuit, it's like, well, this person or that one is always talking down to the other person. Well, why is that? It's to make themselves look better, to feel better. That's no way to make friends. That's no way to be successful. And it certainly is no way to master the emotional intelligence that really can get us a lot further. So he found that they stay healthier, have better relationships. Oh yeah, that is for sure. And go further in their careers. And so think about that. And a lot of times the positives do make more money because they aren't coercing people into doing their work. The people want to work with them and work for them. So one of the things is, I am in charge of my destiny. These are some of the tips, the tools that this person gave. Do not spend your entire life waiting for something exciting to come to you, because you may wait a lifetime, and boy, that is the truth. That is the absolute truth. Successful professionals go out and make good things happen. Okay, so commit yourself to thinking about your career in an entirely different way. You will make it to the top once you know that you are in charge of your future. So think about that. The people, places, and things that are in your life right now, are they the ones that you want to keep in your life? Are they helping you, or are they hurting you? And I've talked about that a lot in past programs. Anything is possible, okay, if you push through. People who fall down a lot, trying to learn a sport, trying to do skiing, trying to do Olympics, what do? They keep at it. So think about that. Things are possible if you push through, like I said, with Abraham Lincoln. Perfect example. No task is too small to do well, because when we do the small tasks well, people will notice. And they go, I want that person on my team. I have a friend who I went to junior high and high school with. And after not seeing her for several, many years, I had run into her several years ago, and we got to be friends and do things together. And she did not have 1 hour of college. And she started out in what at the time was the largest advertising agency in this area as an accounting clerk. She was doing clerical work. She ended up, when I met her, and she handed me her card, and she was the vice president of media and getting the talent, and she'd fly to New York and Dallas and LA and Chicago, a vice president of the largest ad agency at the time in this area without 1 college hour. And so she's a perfect example of, yeah, we can do it if we focus on it and work hard. People noticed her diligence, they noticed her smarts, her work, and so they kept promoting her all the way up the ladder. And the company eventually moved out of Omaha, but I'd say that's a pretty good attitude. Okay, then another one is everyone is a potential contact. You can always run into people, anywhere. You can run into someone at the grocery store that you may not know or and now it's like, hey, I'm doing this, and they connect with you and you tell them what you're doing. There's all kinds of connections that are happening, that have happened. Might meet someone at a child's baseball game, and it ends up to be someone that you could work with or provide a service, or they could provide a product or a service to you. So don't look at just work as networking. Look at every part of your life as networking, meeting new people. I mean, if someone's looking for a partner, yeah, that's how they used to do it, and still a lot of people do, because not everybody's going to find somebody on the internet, whatever. But think about them as key contacts and connections that you want to build relationships with. I've done that a lot. Most of the friends, when we meet new people that we want to be friends of ours, how do we do that? We've connected through some sort of organization. If you're very shy and you're very quiet, start getting online, start joining some of the organizations online where they actually have Zoom meetings where people can contribute to each other. They get on a Zoom and you see all the faces, and there can be question answer. Mastermind is one with Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins, but there's a ton of them where you could actually just meet somebody that way too. So get out there, even if it's online, because you're a little bit uncomfortable still. Or join an organization where you can be a contributor, like you could be at the registration table, or where there's refreshments or something like that. If you're too shy to get out there, me personally, I'd rather speak in front of 500 people than get out in a network with a room of people I don't know. Okay, that's a little crazy. But anyway, so, think about that and get out that way, where you can stand behind a table and help and you meet people, but you don't have to try to go network person to person, because some people aren't comfortable with that, and that's okay. It's not just what I know, but who I know. So again, go to kids' games, charities, maybe you're a food bank volunteer or other kind of volunteer, but understand that you're connecting with people inside and outside of your actual job, your job job. And so what else can I do? Think about what else can I do to meet other people. And again, volunteering is wonderful. I started volunteering as an ambassador with the Orpheum and the Holland Center. Why? Because I wanted to meet new people, new faces, new opportunities, new things to watch. And so that doesn't take a bank account or anything at all. You just have to have good people skills and an interest in providing that service to the guests that come to the Holland and the Orpheum. So do something like that, or the Omaha Playhouse, or something that will get you out maybe of your little comfort zone at the time. So think about that. And failures do help you achieve success. And so everybody experiences setbacks, everybody. And I've given those lists before, how Einstein's teacher said when he was like 5, he's never going to amount to anything. He's not very smart. Hello. Or Michael Jordan, when he was told that he was a failure and got kicked off the high school football team because he wasn't good enough. Michael Jordan, okay, had shoes named after him and everything, one of the most powerful basketball players ever. Okay, he went in his room when he got home and he cried. Then he got back out there again. Thomas Edison, oh yeah, you failed what, 999 times trying to make a light bulb? Well, he's the one who gets the credit for it, even though I know there was another gentleman that was working on that stuff too. So again, hello, it's kind of what are you thinking? What are you, where's your attitude? And then I am my own biggest fan, not my biggest enemy. And so many times there's self-hatred, there's self-loathing. I've done that a lot myself, where it's like, oh, gee, we're big failures. We're never going to amount to anything. You have to be your own biggest fan, like I mentioned before. Give yourself a high five in the mirror. Tell yourself you're great, you got it, you're right on it every morning when you wake up. And think about your opportunity monitor is never turned off, all right? And so basically is think about everything that comes your way, every opportunity that you may see. Look for opportunities to meet people, to start new things, to try new things, to get involved in other things. You know, it's amazing what you can do. But as you do that, say, how will this change my life? Is it for the good, the better, or would this be a hindrance to me or my family or my success? What kind of energy is it giving me? Is it depleting my energy? Is it making me feel uncomfortable or inferior? Or is this something where I'm really lighting up and I can feel it? And I want to go forward with this because it just feels right. And that's the ones that you want to do. So think, is this good? Is it bad? And the things that make you shine, make you light up, make you feel positive, go after those and don't ever give up. Thank you, and I look forward to continuing this in the next message.